Hey, hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tobias, and on this channel I'll talk a lot of Swinglish to you guys, but most importantly a lot of music talk as well. And we're closing in on that time of year, Christmas, and all those Christmas songs that bombard us when we're out shopping and elsewhere. They could be a bit daunting, but I do have some fond memories of some Christmas songs. I thought I was just going to go through them, a stroll down memory lane as it was. So cue the snow. Christmas songs, eh? Either you love them or you hate them. That is my belief, at least. I think there's no in-betweens when it comes to Christmas songs. And every year we get artists, bands releasing their own Christmas songs or albums, and it's been like that for ages because it's a good cash cow doing a really successful Christmas songs. That's at least what I think. I think it's true. But everyone wants to get into that Christmas market, but few have succeeded. Because if you think about it, at least for me, when I go out shopping or I listen, the few times that I actually listen to the radio, traveling in a car, for example, the Christmas songs that we hear in these places are mainly from the 1980s. It was the heyday of Christmas songs. A lot of things came out of the 80s. Of course, there was previous decades as well, as 70s and 60s and certainly even 50s and even going back further than that. But a lot of things that we consider classic Christmas songs and that are on heavy rotation around this time of year is stemming from the 1980s. So my focus is also going to be on that decade, because that's where I actually discovered a lot of music and where my fondest Christmas memories are from. So yeah, of course. But let's get one thing out of the way. This one, Mariah Carey and her Christmas album. And well, it's not a Christmas album per se that's going to get a lot of playtime during every Christmas. No, it's of course All I Want for Christmas. I bought this one in 1994. I was a bit of on a Mariah Carey tip there, where I bought her albums leading up to this one. And I was like, yeah, boy, she's got a Christmas album out. Let's get that one as well. I have to say, I'm not going to shy away from this, because I did love All I Want for Christmas. That was a big single from this one, of course. And I still find it a bit catchy, but it's been worn out. And you could say that for some of the other songs that I'm going to present later on, but they still have a special place in my heart, where this one, not so much. But I just want to mention it. It's in my collection, and it does get played at least once a year for me, even if I hear it a lot on radio. But there's some other nice covers here of traditional songs. She's got a lovely voice, of course, so she does Holy Night, Silent Night as well. So it's worth listening to if you want to get into that Christmas spirit, and sung by someone with a really great voice. So that's Mariah Carey. Okay, but now let's get on to my earliest memories, and it has to be, and I'm going to contradict myself here because this is something that I'm not really fond of, but it has to be mentioned. I thought it was going to be a really good starting point of this talk around Christmas singles, and that is in 1982, David Bowie, David Crosby, I was about to say, Bing Crosby, of course. Not David, that would be an interesting combination. But Bing Crosby and David Bowie doing The Little Drummer Boy. An old classic traditional song, I would say. Became a big hit. I remember seeing it a lot around Christmas 1982 on Swedish television. Wasn't a big fan then, was not a big fan now either. It's not bad or anything like that. I'm just a little bit it's okay. But that was my start off point, because that is the earliest memory I have of a Christmas song that became really big. So let's kick things off from there. The first Christmas song I usually bring out before Christmas to get me in that spirit of Christmas, that joy that Christmas is supposed to bring. It's a single from 1979. Back then, I can't remember ever hearing it on radio or elsewhere in Sweden. Perhaps it wasn't big in Sweden, but here in the UK, it's certainly become one of the traditional Christmas songs that you hear everywhere. I'm talking about Paul McCartney and Wonderful Christmas Time. The mood is right. This, at least to my understanding, is dividing a lot of McCartney fans. Some call it banal, just a gimmicky song. But to me, it's just a great, great Christmas song, a very unusual Christmas song, because it's very stripped down, very minimal arrangement, synth-driven. And it just gives me a lot of happiness listening to it. I get very happy listening to this one. And that's the most important thing, right? And it's very much in the same vein what was about to come the year after, in 1980, when he released this album, McCartney 2. And it's also very, not heavily synth-driven, but yeah, well, some songs are. Temporary Secretary, for example, a favorite of mine. But yeah, he recorded this all on his own. At least I think so. He played more or less all the instruments, and it became this wonderful album that's called McCartney 2. And leading up to this one, like I said, one of my favorite Christmas singles ever, Wonderful Christmas Time. What a great one. Okay, let's fast forward things now to 1984. And this is the year when I discovered a label, and first and foremost a band from that label, that is solely responsible for my record collection today. That's where things actually kicked off for real. I'm talking about Frank Goes to Hollywood. They were on an indie label called Sang Tum Tum. They had released their debut single the year before in 1983, which was Relax, but it didn't make the #1 spot until it was banned by the BBC. And then the second single in 1984, Two Tribes, also went up to #1 and stayed there for 9 weeks. And on top of this, in November, they released their third single. They were very productive, and that also went up to #1. And I'm talking about The Power of Love. This is a staple in the Christmas songs, of course, and I never get tired of it. I heard it so many times, but it's got such good quality to it. Holly Johnson singing it with his powerful voice. And yeah, it's just got that brilliance to it. I never get tired of this one. And of course, this was meant to be a Christmas hit with, you see the Christian symbolism here, or iconography. It was just made for Christmas, wasn't it? And to really cement that this single, The Power of Love, was to be a Christmas single that we would never forget. They hired Godley and Cream to direct a video for it, and yeah, they borrowed heavily from the Bible in this case. And then in the same month, or perhaps in the beginning of December, I picked up this one. This is a maxi single, as you can see, of the same song. And in true Sang Tum Tum fashion, we didn't just get an extended version of it. We also got a different B-side. On the B-side of this one, it's all the lads from Frank Goes to Hollywood wishing us a happy Christmas. And this was groundbreaking to me, because up to this point I only actually read about them. I don't think I ever saw an interview with them. It was back in the day we relied on television, so we couldn't really just pick and choose what we were going to be shown. And a Frankie interview, a live interview, was very rare. But on the B-side of this one, we get all of them wishing us a happy Christmas. They also tell us what they want for Christmas. If some fan out there happened to be really wealthy or wanted a Lamborghini or something like that. I think it was Mark O'Toole, the bassist, who wanted something like that. And just to underline how brilliant I think that Frankie was, on top of my wish list for this Christmas in 1984 was the picture disc for The Power of Love. And I got some really nice parents who actually gave me this picture disc. I still got it here. What a lovely piece of art this is. Very Christmassy. You got Holly there looking to the sky, and we flip it over. We got the rest of the lads there, and yeah, there you go. It's the same maxi single, of course, but now on a beautiful piece of art. That is the picture disc. And it didn't stop there, of course. They also had a 7-inch in the same vein. And I think I picked this one up a bit after Christmas myself. And as you can see, it's also very Christmassy. It's got the same photos and text basically, but now in green instead. What a wonderful one. And like I said, Sanctum Tam was very fond of different mixes, different editions of these ones. So in the beginning of next year, in 1985, I also picked up The Power of Love in these envelope covers. So you had these nice envelopes, and inside is of course the same editions. Also came as a 12-inch with the same packaging. With this, and I might be wrong on this, and I should have looked this up before the video, but I haven't, so I'm just speculating here, and I should know better really, because I'm a Frankie fan. But I think because this one spent a lot of time in the charts after it was released in 1984, so they were like, oh, if we're going to release it, we're going to release it again for Valentine's Day, because you can see it's got the hearts and the crosses here, and it's perfect as a Valentine gift, isn't it, to give to someone you love. The power of love in this nice envelope. And actually I bought 2 of these when it came out, and I had a bit of a crush on a girl in school, and I actually brought myself together, got the courage to step up to say, here you go, it's for Valentine's Day. And yeah, she thanked me for it, but never led to anything else. But it's just curious. So I wonder if this was made for February in 1985, especially for Valentine's Day, but I could be wrong. It could have been issued really already in 1984. But it's a curiosity. Also in 1985, the last one, I promise you, when it comes to Power of Love, is this beauty. It's a second 12-inch or maxi single, and it's got a beautiful gatefold cover here, as you can see. Really, really nice. But to top it off, inside you got black and white photos of all the lads in a Frankie. Really, really nice photos there, and it does harkens back to a certain album by the Beatles, of course, and I think that was intended to be just like this. Yeah. Oh, and we shouldn't forget, back in the 80s, it was very common with every single that was released. There was also a cassette single. And I'm biting my tongue a bit here, because it does say on the back here, this cassette is not a single. Anybody who calls it such will be shot. And we don't want to risk that, do we? So we'll call this a cassette. And it was common to have these to be released along with a single release. So you could pop it into your boombox back home or in your car and listen to it that way. So of course I had to pick this one up as well. And also a bit of a different sequencing on this one in true fashion for Sanctum Tam. So you got to have them all editions. And something else that happened that same year, another band released a big single that so 1984 has a lot to answer for, doesn't it, when it comes to the Christmas side of things. We have this band, Wham! I had to represent them here with the latest compilation, because even if I did like Wham! Back then, I wasn't that big of a fan that I went out and bought the records, because, you know, cash is and was limited. So you can't buy it all, but I did pick this one up earlier this year, which is a collection, of course, with all the singles. Yeah, but the big one, the big Christmas single, is, of course, Last Christmas. Yeah, I think everyone have heard this one at least once a year. Still a really good one. I think back then I was a bit, yeah, it's a bit too cheesy. And I thought that for years and years, but secretly, somewhere in my mind, it was like, but you really like this. This is good pop music, and you like good pop music. And the back of my mind was right, because gradually over the years, I really become really fond of it. So yeah, that's Wham, of course, and Last Christmas. Well, the one that knocked both Frankie, The Power of Love, and Wham off the first spot in 1984 on the charts was this one. It's, of course, Band-Aid and Do They Know It's Christmas? We can talk about in length how brilliant of a song this is. It was written by Bob Geldof and mid-Jur, but I think the biggest takeaway of this one is that all the proceeds in 1984 and even in 1985, as long as the single sold, all the proceeds went to the relief of famine in Ethiopia. And it was also a #1 in 1985, so they continued selling these singles and collected a lot of money. And also in connection with this one in 1984, remember seeing on TV some documentaries about the horrible conditions they lived in Ethiopia and what the famine did to them. And it really opened up our eyes to a part of the world that we might never been aware of before and might still not be really aware of. Who knows? But he did a really good thing. And in 1985 he also launched Live Aid, of course, which was a concert set up in here in the UK at Wembley Stadium and in Philadelphia. I think those were the two places. So it was broadcast live in most countries around the world. And the proceeds for these concerts as well also went to the relief project in Ethiopia. So I think that is the biggest takeaway. And it still holds up today. It's been played a lot, certainly with me. It's close to my heart. I think it's a great project he launched, and what a great single as well. A really, really good song, never gets old to me. Okay, now on to 1985, and high on my wish list for the Christmas of 1985 was a Swedish artist, and with this new album out. It was really, really high on my wish list. I was obsessed with this. It's an artist called Robert Broberg, and he started out somewhere in the 1960s, and then during the 1970s he became a really popular Swedish artist. A bit of a comedian, I would say. It's hard to describe. He had a way with words where a lot of the words in his songs had double meanings, were a bit quirky, and so forth and so on. But in the late 70s and leading into the 1980s, he got more experimental. He was calling himself Zero at some point. He did record a couple of albums in English, which are really interesting. And I think that is a period that I'm really fond of, when he became Zero and recorded all of these albums. But in 1985, he was back to being Robert Broberg. And he released an album called Raket, which is translated to rocket, and this is what it looks like. And yeah, I was obsessed of getting this album for Christmas 1985. Because just a couple of months earlier, I think it was, on Swedish television, they had a special with Robert Broberg where he performed a couple of songs from this album. But there was also, and it could be another thing on Swedish television, but in my mind it was the same program. But it could have been another one, where he went in front of an audience somewhere, probably in Stockholm, and he had this yellow cassette player or boombox with him. And no band or anything else. He just put that on a table or on a chair. He mic'd it up, pressed play, and you had all the music that he needed recorded on a cassette, and he just started singing along with this. And at some point he just stopped himself, rewind the cassette live, and then started all over again. And I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was great. I never seen something like that. So like I said, he was a bit out there, a bit experimental, but I did love it.
Ska vi se. Så.
So going to Christmas Eve, because that's where us Swedes does celebrate Christmas on the 24th. I was like, yes, I'm going to get this album. I'm so looking forward to it. Open up my present and I didn't get it. I remember I got something else. It probably was a record, because all I ever wanted was records around this time. But I didn't get it. It was something else. I forgot about it, so it doesn't matter. I didn't get Robert Broberg. So I was like, oh. And I remember my mom said to my aunts and uncles, because we all had these big Christmas celebrations together, she said, oh yeah, he is a bit disappointed because he wanted Robert Broberg's newest album. And they were all like, oh, no, that's nothing to listen to. He's a bit strange. It's So I don't know. I have to ask my mum again, but if she remembers this, if that was a reason she never got me the album, because he was a bit strange, it was a bit out there at this point. So it wasn't really appropriate for me as a 14-year-old to listen to. Don't know. I have to ask her, and I will give you an update of that one. So years later, I picked this up myself. I don't know why I didn't pick it up the year after that, but it did take me a couple of years. I think it's just the disappointment over this just led me to other things. I don't know. But I got it now since years and years back, and I do love this album. It's not his best album, but it's got some really, really good tracks, and I think that the 14-year-old me would have loved this one. Raket, Robert Broberg. And I also have to say the reason why I think you do get the reason why I associate this with so much with Christmas is because of those and that anticipation that I had of getting this album, but I never got it. So I do associate this with Christmas, but it does get played all year round, I would say. At least once a year I'll put this on. Another single that's become a Christmas staple ever since it was released in 1988 is the Pogues with Kirsty MacColl. I'm talking about Fairytale of New York, of course. So much love has been given to this song since it was released. It's been re-released and it's been on the charts basically every Christmas, especially the last couple of years. It's been up there on the charts, on the listening charts. And I don't think this year is going to be an exception, but you never know, because the last couple of years it seems it's been Wham, the Pogues, just been battling for the top position. But I'm sure it's going to be up there for sure. What a wonderful tune. Back then in 1988, I heard of the Pogues, but I don't think I ever heard the Pogues, if that makes sense. But Kirsty MacColl was certainly on my radar, one of the best and most wonderful artists to ever walk this earth. Sadly, we lost her, and sadly, this November, the singer of the Pogues, Shane MacGowan, also passed away. And one of the many charities I'm sure that he and his wife supported was the Dublin Simon Community, who is there to prevent homelessness to all people in all walks of life. that are struggling with homelessness, and they decided to release a 7-inch single this month in December 2023. So you can go out, pre-order it. I will be sure to have a link here in the description of this video, so you can click on that one, go and order it from the Dublin Simon Community. It will have the Fairytale of New York on the A side, of course, and on the B side there will be the instrumental version of it, so you can do your own karaoke back home during Christmas of this wonderful song, Fairytale of New York. One of the songs that always get played more than once, I will tell you, in this household.
And the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day.
This next segment is more of a honourable mentions when it comes to Christmas songs. They do get played sometimes nowadays, so that's why they are honourable mentions. They do get a lot of airtime on Swedish radio because both of them are Swedish artists. Around Christmas, they're being played as much as Mariah Carey in Sweden. I'm talking about the first one is from 1982. It's Adelsson och Falk and the single Mer Jul, which is basically more Christmas. I can't really get into all the details in that one because I have to explain to you what Christmas tradition is like in Sweden, but I'll save you that one for another time. The other one is from 1991. It's by one of the first groups in Sweden to rap in Swedish. They're called Just det. And the single is called Jul igen, if I'm not mistaken, and it's Christmas all over again, or Christmas again, roughly translated. And I loved this one when it came out in 1991, but it was very much a thing of its time, I think. I still appreciate it somewhat, but it doesn't get played that much. So, and the same goes for the first one with Adelsson och Falk, Mer Jul. Also not being played that much, but it does happen. But that's why they are honourable mentions on my Christmas list. Okay, I saved the best for last. I love the other ones that we presented, but for me, it's not Christmas until Noddy Holder screams, "It's This, of course, is Slade, and as you can see, it's Merry Christmas, everybody. First released in 1973. I became aware of it way later than that because I was too young to even understand what Slade or Christmas was probably at that point. But yeah, this is a great single, and I remember hearing it properly as a teenager. But back then it was like, it's a Christmas single, and my parents like it. It's not cool enough. But the back of my head said, just as they did with some of the other songs, you know you love this one, and of course I do. I love it. And this is actually a copy that I picked up last year around Christmas. So now I get to put it on my record player each and every Christmas. And it's usually just around Christmas. Some time after Christmas as well I could play this one because it gets me in such a good mood. It's such a good tune. Yeah, just love it. And I just have to show you the vinyl as well. I was hoping when I ordered this one, because it was on colored vinyl, that it would be like, you know, white, perhaps some glitter in it even. But it looks like this. And it does make sense because living here in the UK, and even if I lived back in Sweden, we basically have the same kind of weather. So if we get any snow here, this is what it turns into in just a couple of hours. It never stays a white Christmas. It's a bit of a muddy, grey Christmas. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Very appropriate, I think. Slade, yes. That's it for my Christmas special. We can call it that. What are your thoughts around Christmas music or Christmas songs? Is that something that you're really passionate about? Do you have a favorite? Is there something that you usually play around Christmas that gives you that really warm, nice feeling and gets you happy? Because all of these things that I talked about today, they gets me in a really good mood, and that's why I play them. Or do you just detest Christmas music? Let's hear about it in the comments. I would love to hear some of your comments around Christmas music. But if we don't see each other before Christmas, have a really merry, happy Christmas and holidays out there. And if you tune into this channel before New Year's, you will see a couple of new videos coming up. Not sure they will be up before Christmas, but certainly just after Christmas. And I also want to say I do appreciate all of you tuning into this channel. I'm just a new channel. I know I don't have a lot of views and all that, but we have to start somewhere. And I do have a lot of interesting things lined up for 2024. A lot of nice pop, Italo disco and all that nice stuff. But until then, folks, take care of yourself and adieu and God Jul.